let's get into our main topic, which is reducing cravings. But first, I think it's important to talk about where cravings come from and why they arise or why we have them. And one of the reasons why that we have them could be from a lack of nutrient in our body. So if a lot of times cravings come up in the evenings or in the afternoons, right? So our body is trying to tell us at times that we're missing something, and usually it's one of our main nutrient sources, like one of our macronutrients. So it could be like that we didn't have enough healthy fats in a day, for example, or maybe we didn't have enough fiber, maybe our body needs some more carbohydrates, healthy carbs. So it's our body's way of telling us that we are missing something and it needs something in addition to what we've already had.
Yeah, and I think it's much like hydration in water, for example.
Yeah.
And it's the day before or
Right.
days before. So when we have a craving, it's not like we need something now. It's like your body has been lacking nutrients that it needs, and your body's just telling you about it now.
Right.
So when you're thirsty, if I'm thirsty today, right now, if I'm thirsty, it was because I was dehydrated yesterday. Or didn't drink enough water yesterday.
Right.
So when it comes to, I think that's a very good point, Dorothy, when you said we lack nutrients, and I think that's it's a problem. It's a main issue. I think most issues come up because we don't drink enough, that we don't eat enough food.
Right.
Not that we eat too much food most of the time. So when those cravings come up, we're lacking those nutrients. And I also think we have an emotional connection to unhealthy snack food.
Right.
Like sugar, processed food, crunchy things.
Crunchy things like George chips.
Like chips. So when we had that emotional, like for example, we talked about dessert. Like that's emotional connection. We don't need dessert in the evening. It's just a habit.
Right.
We grow up with it. We're used to having it. And many times we go to family or friends and everyone has dessert because it's normal.
Yes.
But you don't have to have a dessert in the evening, or you don't have to have an appetizer, or you can have your dessert at the beginning of the meal.
Right.
Sometimes we've done that. So you don't have to. It's just an emotional connection to it. It's a movie. It's Friday night. It's game night. Here's a bowl of chips or a bowl of popcorn or whatever.
And lots of times too, it's boredom, right? Where these cravings, we're sitting inside on at nighttime and we just feel like we have nothing to do. What can we do? So we go to the pantry, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into what can we do to reduce cravings. So one of the things we can do, one of the most important things that we could do is food journal, because then you can look back on your last few days. So for example, if you're having some cravings at a specific time in the afternoon or in the evening, and it's being more consistent, like every day, same time, these cravings are popping up, you have a journal or a record of all of the things you've eaten over the past week or whatever, or how long your journal is, so you can go back and take a look at that and kind of evaluate, did I get enough nutrients, right? I know I used to do that. Well, we do food journal, but then I remember one time I was having lots of sugar cravings, so I go back in my journal and I'm like, I haven't been eating enough healthy fats. So then you can introduce more healthy fats as you move forward in an attempt to reduce those cravings.
Yeah, success journal is so important. And if you haven't tried to write in one or haven't tried to use one, just give it a shot.
Right.
Because you can track everything. You can track your mood, your emotions, these sugar cravings. You can track so much, like allergies, for example, sleep. So when you say I haven't slept for the last week, well, look at what you have. Sometimes we have the same meal in the evening, or the same like unhealthy foods, and then we're like, oh, well, there it is right there. It's written down right in front of us.
So if you have chips every night and you're not sleeping, it could be what related to what you have.
Don't eat chips every evening.
No, he doesn't. I'm just fucking him.
I said don't. No,
I thought you said I don't eat chips every night. Yeah, so what else, Drew? We talked about lack of nutrients. We talked about habits and emotions as well. So I guess
what you guys said, what can we do besides a food journal is eat food.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that we often talk about is eating small meals throughout the day. That's going to help you get all the macronutrients and just overall nutrients you need throughout the day. So if you're having your breakfast, I suppose we should start out with 3 meals a day.
Right.
If you're not having 3 meals a day, that's where we need to start. So if you're not, a lot of people don't have breakfast. So if you're not having breakfast, start out with breakfast. But by slowly transitioning into eating throughout the day, small meals, then we can fight those cravings, especially in the evening. Like we often talk about how you should snack in the evening. Find something clean, healthy, that's easy to digest, and then you're not gonna. So when you have food in your belly, you're not like, oh, I need to go to the pantry, and we know there's nothing healthy
Yes.
in the pantry. So maybe you go to the fruit bowl instead of the pantry.
Right. Yeah. A couple other things that I've been thinking of while we were sitting here too, that is successful is replacing that habit, like maybe we have the habit of snacking in the evening, replacing that habit with something else. So instead of like grabbing for an unhealthy snack, have a cup of tea, for example. Because lots of times, it like Drew said, it's not because we're hungry. We are actually full, but we're looking for something to do, right? So replace it with something healthy, like a cup of tea, a nice cup of herbal tea, for example. Or, do something active in the evening. And it doesn't have to be go to the gym for a full workout. It can be take the dog for a walk, or it can be, meet up with a friend, go for a walk around the neighborhood. Those little things can help reduce cravings because you're not sitting around.
Yeah, you can read a book.
Read a book.
We don't do that very often. You can go to a yoga class. You can journal. You can write in your food journal. You can plan your next day. I mean, there's a lot of different things we can do, but I think most of us sit in front of a screen in the evenings,
Yes.
watching TV or movies or on our phone, and then we're bored. So we're like just flipping through our news feed instead of doing something that might be more stimulating to our mind.
And another thing about screen time is that there is always food on the screens, right? Like advertisements on TV, for example, for fast food, or
They're there for a reason.
or like things like that. So it's making us think about these things. It's putting these thoughts in our head that we need food, right? Or even provoking some of those cravings.
Right.
So get away from the screen.